RNG. We hear this term frequently in the context of video games, most often in phrases like "I got terrible RNG during this run" or "my speedrun was ruined by bad RNG." In a casual sense, players use it to describe the overall outcomes of a game's random systems and how lucky they got, whether they managed to loot a powerful weapon, land a critical hit at a crucial moment, or draft cards that synergize perfectly. That's how we say it in the gaming slang, but keep in mind it's not the whole story. So let's look at the literal meaning. RNG is an acronym for Random Number Generator. Technically speaking, it is a piece of code often built directly into a game engine or available as a ready-to-use functions in programming languages. Its job is to generate random numbers, which the game then uses to make decisions. Thanks to RNG, the game can determine things like which cards appear in the shop, how much damage your attack deals within a specific range, or how much gold drops after defeating an enemy. This term is most commonly associated with roguelikes, where randomness is at the very core of the gameplay loop and is perhaps even more visible than in other genres. For instance, the levels themselves are procedurally generated, and that relies heavily on random numbers. The phrase RNG is also popular within the speedrunning community, where a fraction of a second can decide a world record. Since a runner's success frequently depends on getting favorable random outcomes, a single moment of a bad luck can instantly ruin hours of otherwise flawless play. Let's look now at a simple example of random number generator. Here is a basic Python program that uses a built-in RNG module simply called random. All we have to do is import the function from this module and ask it for a random number between, say, 1 and 100. Now, every click of the button in my game generates a new random number. Of course, the core source code of this RNG is not visible here. It was written by the creators of the programming language itself and is much more complex. So, we've generated a single number, but we didn't actually do anything with it. How do we use the number to make something happen in-game? I modified the code slightly and now, using the exact same function, I am rolling for a card that the player receives. Depending on the rolled number, the player can get a Rusty Claimer, a Frostbite Quiver, or a legendary Infernal Scepter. Just like that, we turn a raw number into a functional game mechanic. Now let's take it one step further to show how easily a basic mechanic can transform. If I hide all the raw numbers from the user interface and change the logic to roll for a starting deck instead, the player completely loses sight of the underlying RNG system. To them, it's just a polished deck building screen, but behind the scenes, it's the exact same random engine driving the experience. This is of course a highly simplified example, as modern games can perform dozens or even hundreds of RNG operations per second. Here is a fun fact. An RNG does not actually generate truly random numbers because computers, as deterministic machines, are fundamentally incapable of doing so. If you start with the exact same starting point, called a seed, and use the same algorithm, you will always get the exact same sequence of so-called random numbers. And that is why we call them pseudo-random numbers. However, the mathematical algorithms behind them are so advanced that for the average player the difference is practically unnoticeable. This is a pretty complex topic, so let me know in the comments if you'd like a separate video about it. Sometimes RNG implementations can be rather unique. Perhaps the most fascinating example is the classic Doom. In the original Doom, the game does not calculate random numbers on the fly at all. Instead, it simply pulls values one by one from a predefined list of 256 numbers. Once it reaches the end of the list, it loops back to the beginning and repeats this process indefinitely. The YouTuber Decino made an excellent deep dive video about this, and I highly recommend checking out the link in the description. True RNG implemented as a game mechanic can feel brutal. It's perhaps best illustrated in Balatro. In this game there is a tarot card called the Wheel of Fortune, which offers a 25% or 1 in 4 chance to add a powerful upgrade to a random joker. Balatro's code has been analyzed many times by the community, confirming that the probabilities stated in the game are completely accurate. The developer is not hiding anything. Yet, when playing, it feels like this upgrade almost never hits. It turns out that 25% is not as high as our brain thinks. And here is the twist. Developers often have to hide this raw RNG from us. The human brain is notoriously bad at processing true probability. If we have 25% chance to upgrade a card and we fail 15 times in a row, we immediately assume the game is broken. That is why game designers use clever hidden tricks. The first is called APT timer, where the game artificially boosts your odds with every consecutive failure. A perfect example of this is Slay the Spire. To prevent the player from getting stuck with a weak deck, the game monitors how often rare cards appear in reward screens. There is a hidden counter in the code. Your base chance of seeing a rare card after a standard fight actually starts at the negative percentage. However, every common card that the game generates in your rewards quietly increases that chance by 1%. The longer you go without seeing a rare card, the more the game bends probability in your favor, ensuring that you eventually draft the powerful tools you need to survive. Next up is Hades, where going too long without picking up a crucial Daedalus hammer or hitting rare boons forces the game's engine to practically shove them in your face in the next chambers. Another clever trick is Pseudo-Random Distribution, or PRD. Instead of rolling a virtual die with a static chance on every single hit, the game dynamically adjusts the probability. Let's look at this in Warcraft 3 with the hero Blade Master, who has a 15% chance to land a critical strike. If the game used true RNG, going into a fight relying on a static 15% chance would be a massive gamble. You could easily go an entire skirmish without a single crit. The game engine, however, looks out for you. Every attack that does not crit quietly increases the probability that your next strike will be a critical hit. Thanks to this, the player experiences both excitement and fairness, while frustrating streaks of bad luck are kept to a minimum. You can find similar systems today in almost any game that features fast-paced combat. And sometimes developers just flat out lie to your face to keep your sanity intact. In games like XCOM 2, our brains struggle so much with raw statistics that we subconsciously treat an 85% chance to hit as an almost guaranteed success. To prevent players from losing their minds after missing a high probability shot, the developers secretly cheat in our favor on almost all difficulty settings. When the UI on your screen displays an 85% chance, the engine in the background is actually rolling the dice with a hidden 93.5% chance thanks to 1.1 multiplier. On top of that, every time you do miss, the game quietly adds a hidden accuracy bonus to your next shot until you finally hit, doing everything it can behind the scenes to save you from absolute frustration. And that is RNG in a nutshell, a casual term we hear every day, yet one that hides complex algorithmic operations and deep design decisions made by game developers. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments. I would also appreciate if you hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel reach more people. Thank you for watching, this is Rogues Den, and I'll see you in the next run.